Welcome, everybody. Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you're calling from. I hope you're staying safe and not being, negatively or too negatively affected by the weather patterns that are going on in North America right now. We're just going to give everybody a few minutes. We got lots of people rolling in. Please feel free to drop your name in the chat. Let us know where you're calling from. It's great to see so many attendees. In the meantime, as we're just waiting to get everybody in, we're going to launch a few polls. And then we'll be passing it off to Stuart and Joel to walk you through some Qualys testing and tools. So here we go. We're going to launch our first poll. The poll is open. Did you attend last week's presentation on the top 10 tech support questions for IQ2?
If you didn't, they're recorded on YouTube, so you can go back and view those.
All right, so yeah, looks like about 2/3 of people attended last week's workshop. That's awesome. We're going to close that poll, and we will move to the next poll. So, how would you rate your IQ2 Plus knowledge?
Oh, I bet everyone's an IQ Plus wizard on this.
I want to see a lot of IQ2 Plus wizards. 3% right now.
Yeah. And for those of you who consider yourself a novice, feel free to reach out to your local TAM and schedule a training, get a little bit more info on it.
All right, we'll close that poll now. So interesting. Yeah, about 44% rate themselves average, 31% above average. 2% are IQ wizards. We gotta fix that. Okay, so this one is a new one versus some of the other polls. So this would be, what is the approximate split of your customer base? So we've just put a few options. We're just trying to get a better idea of our customer splits out there. Pretty even between residential, 75% residential and 25% commercial, and 50-50. So pretty even numbers. Very a smaller number of 75% commercial and 25% resi. So interesting. All right, we'll close that poll, and then just our last poll will be: which of our Facebook groups are you a member of? If you haven't joined these Facebook groups, we strongly recommend you do. Lots of good tips and tricks, and sometimes you can get a lot of different questions, different scenarios. And the group Hive Mind will always be happy to help. You'll see a lot of the TAM team are on those Facebook pages, and we're quick to answer your questions. So if you haven't joined, we encourage you to join. So it's great. Just about 70% are official Qualys technicians and installers, and 64% on the QualysandAlarm.com installers. So that's great. All right, awesome. A couple more seconds. We're going to close that poll, and we thank you very much. And I'm going to go on mute. We're going to pass this off to Stuart and Joel, who are going to walk you through today's presentation. Thanks, everyone.
Okay, can I start something off? Completely random, everyone. Look at this. Stuart and I are wearing the exact same shirt. What is this? What is this?
We didn't call ahead or anything.
Not at all. No planning.
The same fashion person. That's good. That's good. All right. Well, let's get started. Hey, thanks to everybody for showing up. Good morning, good afternoon. I know a lot of people are dealing with rain and snow and all that good stuff right now. So thanks for taking time out to be here with us today. We do a lot of training on the actual install and how to put things in and the right way to do that, but we kind of never think about solidifying that install, making it sure that we're not going to get those calls in the middle of the night for different issues, and making sure we walk out that door that everything can be done and was done, and we have a solid installation. So that's what we're going to kind of go through today, how the Qualys allows us to test just about every aspect of this system and make sure that we walk out that door, we're confident in what we're doing. So that's what we're going to go through today. We're first going to go through a little explanation of the different pages, and then at the end we're going to go and do a little bit of live, showing you how to get to these pages and what they look like.
So Stuart, if I understand you, you want to avoid 3 a.m. service calls. Is that what you're looking to do?
Well, I mean, if you don't have small children, or you miss the fact you had babies and you still want to get up at 3 in the morning, you definitely can make that happen. With these.
Hey, I've been doing that enough lately with a newborn, so no, thank you.
Oh, I'm sure you have. I don't have that problem anymore. So let's. I don't know, for some reason my screen isn't moving. All right, so in the IQ2, I mean, we have a page. It's called the About page, and this is where you can get a good idea of all the different aspects of the system, whether it's just trying to gather information. This is the page you want to go to, whether it's your battery charge percentage, making sure that batteries continue to charge, the software version you might be on, making sure that that system is updated to the most current software, your panel, making sure your AC power is present, your cellular signal, and that very important IMEI number that you may need to gather at certain points when you're activating the system, or just needing that information. Your ZWave cards, your PowerG, your Ethernet connection, making sure your Wi-Fi information's in there, just to kind of an overall page, just to get a little bit of information in each little aspect of that.
Stuart, this page, that page you were just showing there, every time I talk to a dealer that I'm trying to help with anything going on, I drive them to this page first, because I want to know, first, the software version. This is the page that's going to tell you. And then, like you said, the IMEI, hey, sometimes the backplate gets changed in the real world, right? Maybe that backplate doesn't match what's actually on there. This will, being able to read it from the screen, will keep you from having to take that thing off the wall.
Exactly, so, yeah, exactly. And getting that information in one spot is really helpful, without having to go to, different pages and different slots to find out the information. The next page you go to is we have a system test page, and this is where you can test your Wi-Fi connection to make sure it's all your devices are connected, making sure you're strong there. Your sensor test, which is huge, that's probably one of the most troublesome service calls, or the reasons we get those calls at 3 o'clock in the morning, are supervision problems on sensors, and a lot of times we can't tell what, they might test good, but we just don't know exactly, how they're responding in their environments. And this allows us to see exactly what's going on with every single sensor. Your cellular test, to make sure you've got enough bars on that cellular connection to make sure you're not going to have that drop off in the middle of the night, or have it iffy, where you're going. The ZWave Test and the PowerG, which we're going to go over here in a little bit more in just a second. So just different ways to allow you to make sure you're strong. But the first one is Wi-Fi test. So, the good thing about the IQ panel is you can have it on a stand, or you can permanently mount it on the wall, whichever way you want to do it. Well, with this Wi-Fi test, you can guarantee that wherever you're going to put it, you can make sure that Wi-Fi test, that Wi-Fi signal is strong enough. That's one thing we don't want is an in and out Wi-Fi test if we're trying to communicate with IQ remotes, or actually just the communication to the system to alarm.com. So we want to make sure that that's got a steady signal, so that wherever we're going to put or mount this system, that it's going to have a steady, solid signal on that Wi-Fi. The next one, like I said, probably the most important, is that sensor test. Okay, I mean, it's hard to tell, in a room or in a house, the environment where, we may have some RF noise, or just not good signals, depending on the construction of the home. But this sensor test will allow you to test every sensor and get that signal, whether it's strong, good, or fair, and allow you to tell you exactly what's going on. So, if you had to adjust that sensor, even if it's just an orientation, sometimes, there's a lot of times, all that you need to get that strong signal. Or if you need to bring it off that metal door a little bit, or away from some kind of interference, you'll be able to tell that right away on every single sensor. So you'll be able to tell if you have to, move that or do anything else with it. So with that sensor test, it gives you a graph. So you can see, besides the actual dB numbers, you can get a graph and test, where that actual sensor is reading. So when you look at this graph, you can see there's a yellow and a red line. Okay, that yellow red line represents where you do not want to have your signal. So this is the actual noise level in the room, is where this yellow and red line are at. So as we know, red is always bad. You know, we don't like red in this industry. So red, you know, is telling you do not want your sensors anywhere near the reading on this red line. Okay, we know yellow is fair or poor, so we don't want to be anywhere near that. So the best way we can get these sensors and make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to do is we want to test these sensors and to be at least 6 dB above the yellow line. Obviously, we want to be even higher than that, but the minimum we want to be is 6 dB above that yellow line. Okay, so that we can make sure that we're not going to get any interference or calls in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
So as you can see on the top, it tells you what zone you're working with and what's happening on each sensor. Okay.
So Stuart, one of the things I want to talk about with this page in particular is, you know, we talk about being user friendly for, you know, as far as the end user goes quite a bit and how intuitive the panel is, but this is an installer friendly panel as well. And it's menus like this that really help you not just understand what's going on, but diagnose and eliminate issues that you may be having with wireless, in particular with your legacy RF sensors. You know, for years when I was in the field doing troubleshooting on RF ghosts, right? I mean, that's what you call them. It never happens when you're there, right? But I would have killed to have a menu like this that I'm able to you know, go back and actually see a timestamp of an event, maybe it's spiking below that RF noise floor. So this is a huge resource for those legacy RF sensors.
Yeah, I mean, most definitely. So I mean, you know, any tool we can have to make sure that we're, you know, we can take care of it with it the first time. You know, besides the fact of getting that call at 3 o'clock in the morning, having to go back on a service call, whether it's your boss or that customer being inconvenienced by having to take more time off from work, or your boss not getting a new install done because you have to go and do a service call. Just that money involved and time involved and all that can be saved with these simple graphs.
As Reagan would say, it's being proactive and not reactive, right?
Exactly.
There you go.
And you know, and overall, the less go backs you have as an installer or even an owner of a company, the more proud you are, for one thing, but also you see that your productivity goes up and morale, you know, isn't too bad either when you're not having to go back. So definitely a positive.
Do we have any questions coming in? Anything that you guys want to bring up so far?
Joel, yeah, that's a great little pivot point there, because there have been a few running in. Somebody said, can this information be accessed from the tools in alarm.com? I figured that would be good to say to the whole group.
It doesn't look exactly like this, but you can read your signal strength from alarm.com. Absolutely. Any other questions?
Is there a PowerG test or a 433 test? I figured that was coming up.
So actually, this is the 433 test if you have a 433 panel, right? So this screen is for your legacy SRF devices, so your security radio frequency, right? If you have a PowerG device, that's a little bit different, and we're going to show that here on maybe the next slide.
I think it's a couple slides away, but yeah.
One of them
I'm sure that also.
All right, let's go ahead and move on, Stuart.
All right. Okay. The next one is probably another one that can be really frustrating when you're doing Z-Wave devices. Is you know, how is it reporting? Is, you know, am I on the network? You know, probably the one I used to get the most was my light's not working now. You go over there and you're searching all over the house. You're spending time trying to figure out what's going on. You're pushing buttons, doing this. This will actually allow you to look at a graph and make sure, one, that these devices are all still online. Okay. First thing is they're online, and also, are they communicating and where are they commuting to and from? So, you know, you tend to find out after an hour of searching around the whole house that somebody was vacuuming. They decided to unplug a lamp module and use that outlet, and then just never plug it back in. So, of course, we know that runs havoc on your Z-Wave mesh. So, you know, little things like that we can find out within, you know, a couple minutes instead of, you know, an hour of pulling our hair out. So with that, it keeps track of how many times it successfully talks to the system and how many times it doesn't. So of course you want to have more success than failure. So this is also going to give you that aspect to show you, yeah, it's not it's an intermittent thing. Yeah, maybe it was just a fluke that one or two times maybe it didn't receive the command. But as long as you're getting a strong success rate, you know that everything's in a good position. But it allows you to see every aspect of that. So if you do need to adjust, whether maybe add a repeater or adjustment like that, you know you can do that and change and help that situation. All right, so this graph here, it shows you, this is what you can pull up on the panel. It shows you the path of every device. Green, of course, is always good. But like I was saying earlier, if you have a device that's offline or unplugged, you're going to get a red X indication that this device is not communicating at all. So you can go and pinpoint that situation and find out exactly where those devices are, what they're doing, and fix that problem before you do anything else. Once those are fixed, then you can do a rediscovery and have it, calculate where everything's at and set up a new mesh to make sure that everything's going to work properly and is communicating in the right direction.
This is another one of those screens that I love. Going back to it being installer friendly, I can tell you and this is probably most everyone's experience the first time they did a ZWave job was it was cumbersome, right? There was no local diagnostics, no local way of testing and seeing how everything was communicating. And with this graph being laid out, literally you can see the strength, you can see which nodes are acting as repeaters, which nodes aren't communicating, which ones are just battery powered devices. It really does help out tremendous with again being proactive and make sure I'm not going to have issues down the road. So I absolutely love this screen.
Yeah, definitely a help. And like we were asking for just a minute ago, the PowerG Test. So the PowerG Test is a little bit different. It doesn't show the graph like the others, but it does, show you whether you have a strong, fair, or poor signal. Okay, so all you have to do is make sure, again, you install these sensors, you activate the sensors, and then watch the display and make sure you've got a strong signal. So if you do not have that strong signal, then you know that maybe, whether it's an orientation thing or maybe you do need that repeater and be able to add that repeater in there to get that signal up to strong, because it's definitely what we want. We don't want anything in the yellow or poor or no signal at all, obviously. But, this graph will definitely, even if it's after the install's done, you're going back to just do a system test, it allows you to make sure that everything is doing exactly what it's supposed to do. Excuse me. And, it'll actually, after the system's been in for a while, you'll actually get a signal strength also, where initially you'll just get, the actual strong or that.
So I'm gonna allude to something later on, but this is also where you can get more information about PowerG devices than just signal strength. So I'll show it to you here when we do a live demo, but there's actually more in this field in regards to the PowerG devices than just signal strength.
Right.
So to come.
Stay tuned. And then overall, I mean, you have the panel test page, where here you can test whether it arms or disarms, whether the camera is working, photos if you have an SD card or that in there, it'll show you if that's working okay. The help videos, which if you guys don't know about the help videos that are on this panel, it allow you to do different things like add a ZWave device or add a PowerG device or do different things. But it gives you your dual path test to make sure you're communicating properly. All this in one screen, so you can do it's probably 12 or 13 different tests in this one video, where you can run them independently or run them all. Okay, so it'll do that AC test, do that battery test, it'll do that Wi-Fi test, all in this one page. And it comes in real handy, when you're, make sure, I mean, it'll even do your sirens. Okay, if you want to test those sirens one time, especially if you have a ZWave siren, you can do a siren test. So it just allows you to do a bunch of tests in one page, and it takes, I would say, a matter of a minute and a half to run these tests. So it's not something that takes too long. It does everything pretty quick. All right.
Any questions, guys?
Hey, Joel, question from the field, and I know there's a lot of information out there about PowerG and testing. Two people asked about repeaters and about testing the strength either of the repeater or of the sensor going through a repeater. And maybe you want to talk about the fact that we can actually test PowerG at the sensor level on all of our control panels. So maybe you can address that for the whole group.
Yep. So it's a lengthy explanation, so I'll try to summarize it pretty quick since we're short on time. There are multiple ways to test the signal strength for PowerG, not just in the panel like what we showed you, but actually on the device itself. There's a self-test, right? And this goes for all PowerG devices with the exception of wire-free keypads. They have LEDs on them, so when you enroll the device for the first 15 minutes, it will be in placement test. Give you 3 greens for an excellent signal strength, 3 yellows for a good, 3 reds for a poor. If you have 3 reds, got to make some adjustments. Either move the device, move the controller, which has the transceiver embedded, or the easier way is just to add a repeater, right? Once you enroll a repeater into the transceiver in the panel, it automatically sees all of the other PowerG devices on that PowerG network. And those devices will automatically choose to talk through that repeater. Okay, so and then they'll adjust their broadcasting strength. If you lose that path, they'll either the devices are smart enough to find the next best path back to the panel, whether that be through another repeater or to the panel itself. So yeah, hopefully that was a good answer for you.
Joel, are you ready for me to flip your screen?
Oh, I think so, and we're gonna see how this goes, huh?
Here we
Gotta
go.
love live demos.
Do some live testing here on a couple of these pages so you can kind of see exactly what happens when you do it.
Yeah,
Joel,
we're gonna go live to my panel. Fingers crossed. We're gonna go live to Joel's panel. Let me get all this stuff out of my way.
Probably the only one south that doesn't have any snow, Joel. So no excuses. No excuses.
Oh, listen, this is the whole reason why I wanted to show my system. Can everyone see my screen yet?
Not yet.
Can you guys
There
see
you
my
go.
screen? Awesome. You know why I wanted to show this? Because if this isn't an absolute reason to want to move to Florida, I don't know what is. It's 81 degrees for a high today, low of 66. I mean, come on. Huh? Where else in the U.S. are you getting that right now?
Humidity at 110%.
If I turned my camera around, you'd be completely envious if you're anywhere where there's snow. Anyway, so I figured I'd show you a live demo of all of these tests here. So, I've already gotten to the test page simply because this lags a little bit, so I didn't want you guys to have to sit through me getting through all these steps. So I'll just start off in the corner with our Wi-Fi, and we can click run. And see how quickly that runs through the Wi-Fi test, sees it, it's connected, gives you a pass score, all that good stuff. Go back to hit the back arrow, and then I can go to my sensor test. And this is that screen that I was telling you guys I love so much. Let's go ahead and actually click it, and it may take us there. Look at that. Now, this is what I call the front page of this sensor test. And keep in mind, guys, this is only for the legacy devices. So if you have a 319 panel, or 433 or 345. This is particular to those sensors. And as you open and close them, you will actually see those results come in. But if you notice, there's a little graph over on the right-hand corner next to that is in conjunction with that zone. We go ahead and click on that. And we'll wait for the lag to catch up. And there we go. And we can actually see all of our data packets and how they're measuring within the noise floor of the environment. Now, one of the things I was talking about also is seeing signal strength while you're not there, right? You get these RF ghosts, and they all happen at 2 a.m. on a Tuesday, and of course you're not there. So we can actually zoom in and zoom out and see a better timestamp of those RF data packets coming in. So I've been on a job before with a customer a couple years back that had an issue that was just some random RF failure, right? And everything looked like we're seeing on the graph here, but then periodically you would see it just spike way down below the red. It was some sort of intermittent RF interference, but with that data that we had in front of us, not only did it help us determine that, I mean, we kind of know that's what the issue is, but it helped us determine a little bit better, but also it helped us, show the end user that we're not just not giving them woo-woo answers, right? We're not giving these made-up scenarios of something that could be happening. I'm able to show the end, hey, this is what's happening, and we can, you know, switch it to a PowerG device or something like that, or add a repeater in order to fix that.
Well, Joe, it's
Yep,
kind of like, you know, when you go to a mechanic, it's never making the noise when you go to the mechanic. This allows you to go back and see exactly when they think happened and what's going on. So there's no guessing, hey, it's not happening now, so I'll see you later.
Boy, it's funny you say that. I'm going with that right now with a guy who replaced my transmission. So fun stuff. Our cellular test, we can go ahead and click start there. By the way, it also shows your IMEI. You can check your central station report there. We'll jump back. I'm going to go over to my ZWave test. Now, if you had an image sensor, which does require an image sensor daughter card, okay, so if you had alarm.com image sensor, you pop in your daughter card, that wouldn't be grayed out on that previous screen. You would actually be able to go in there and run your test. If it doesn't exist, it's going to gray it out for you. The one in particular here that I want to show you guys is this ZWave Diagnostics. We're going to click on that. It's going to go out and query my ZWave network and give you a live display of how everything's communicating. Look at that, all greens. And I only have 2 devices in this. Obviously, the picture that Stuart showed you had 30 because that was a screenshot from someone who had a pretty large ZWave setup. The more devices you add, the larger this is going to get, and it's going to change the way everything's communicating. One quick thing that I want to point out here is this key. This key will actually show you what all this stuff means. So if it's a single black dot, that's an active ZWave device. If I were to unplug my wireless siren there, it would turn into a red X. Strong, so that's a solid green. You get a dashed green and then a dashed yellow for weak. If it's a node that's acting as a repeater, you'll actually see the 2 black dots there connected. And then once we're done, we can go ahead and click quit. And boy, I hope this isn't too bad on your end. It's a little slow on my end, but hopefully you guys are seeing this well enough.
It's going all right. It's going all right.
Fantastic. I'm going to jump over to this PowerZ test, and this is something, obviously, where our signal strength is, right? So I can go ahead and click run, and you can see the last signal strength that checked in. But if I click on run here, it'll actually send a command out to that device and gather the signal strength for it. But notice that there's more over here. So this is one of the things that I'm a huge fan on. Is if I, and it just completed, so that we're good there. If I want to know, so that's a temp sensor, right? I enrolled a temperature sensor earlier. If I click on that more button, based on that device, I'm going to get more information. Like, and the type of device it is going to give me the different types of info. So for instance, this being a temp sensor, I can actually see the temperature of where that device is. And again, I'm going to rub it in a little bit harder here. That's on my back porch. So it's 82 degrees here in St. Pete today. So I'm just saying. One of the other things that I really like is I can actually ask the device to flash its LED. So if I walk into a house and it says, you know, kitchen window, and there's 4 kitchen windows, well, which one is it? If I click on the test LED, it'll make that device actually flash on its LED for 2 minutes. So that way I can visually identify which device it is. But we also have, I've got one kicking around here somewhere, and I thought I had it handy. We also have this motion detector with a built-in camera. And I thought I had one within arm's reach 10 seconds ago. There it is. There we go. One of these guys that if I wanted to see how it's oriented inside of the application, I can go in this screen and actually request a snapshot, and it'll take a picture from this and send it down to the panel. So very, very cool stuff that can be had in this menu, as I alluded to earlier. Any questions? Oops, I went one too far back.
And one other, go back to, there's one other one, the daughter card test. You know, if you're ever having issues where something's just not learning in, you just can't get, you know, PowerG's not learning in or your ZWave's not learning in, you can go to this daughter card and run a test on every daughter card. So if you get a failure here, you know that's the root of your problem. Maybe shipping a board came loose. It does. I've never seen it happen, but it could, or just be a bad card. So if you're ever having any issues, you can go to this page too and just run an initial daughter card test and make sure you're not having any issues there.
Absolutely. Hey guys, I know we're literally at the end of this here. Do we have any questions that are pertinent?
I think we do not. Mr. Buckley's
so what you're saying is that
Mr. Buckley's been doing a wonderful job of answering any questions in there.
I was just assuming that Stuart and I were doing a perfect job presenting.
Well,
Yeah, that's
obviously,
what it was. That's what it was. All
obviously
about
you
the
guys are
shirt.
doing
All
a good
about the
job.
shirt.
All right.
So there is one question that just popped in, and we'll give it to you just so you feel like you didn't get a question. It's being prefaced with silly question, but regarding 9914s on a Colsys, when they arm the system, how long does it take for those motions to be ready to protect the premises? So how long do they go to sleep for?
Oh, so that's but I don't know if I understand the question. If you arm it away, the motions wake up and work, right? Is that what like? I don't know if I didn't necessarily understand it.
Maybe I'm reading it wrong. Mark, you see it differently?
I was wondering if it's like with the door window. I mean, normally a wireless motion, standard motions go to sleep for 4 to 5 minutes after they've seen their last motion, just to save on battery life. But with a lot of the PowerG contacts, you can actually go in and set,
Set the time.
The high traffic shutdown. Okay.
when they're armed and all that. There you go, Joel.
Gotcha. Yeah. So sorry about that. I misunderstood. So the high traffic shutdown in wireless motions is usually in legacy wireless motions is usually pre-programmed, like 3 or 5 minutes, right? Ours is programmable if to fit the application. So you have an option to say it's asleep at all times while disarmed. It's never asleep. It's asleep for 5 seconds. It's asleep for 5 minutes. It's asleep for 1 hour. So that wake up time would vary depending on how you set the high traffic shutdown time. Okay. Sorry, I misunderstood that, guys.
Perfect. Well, I think that is it. So everybody, thank you. Joel, Stuart, great job.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks for your time.
We'll see everybody next week.
All right.
Everyone next
Take
week.
care. Stay safe.
Stop presenting, Joel.
I don't know that I can.
All right, I'm going to do it for you.
There you